Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. This post is from the subreddit Relationship Advice and it's by user ThrowAwayWeirdGifts. 28 female, 28 male, 29 male. Girlfriend's childhood friend is showering her with expensive gifts to repay her former kindness. These gifts are making girlfriend and me uncomfortable. How do we respond? My 29 male girlfriend Liza, 28 female, and her friend Jay, 28 male, grew up in the same neighborhood, just a few houses down from each other. They were best friends in elementary school and then drifted apart a bit in middle school. During high school, Jay's parents went through a really nasty divorce. I'm not really clear on all the details, but I know that Jay's dad moved out and Jay and his mom were really struggling financially. Liz's parents are about as kind, generous, and warm as you'll ever meet, and they cared for Jay. He would often have dinner with them, do family stuff with them, and crash at Liz's place. Over this time, Liz and Jay became best friends again and stayed that way until college. Jay ended up getting a significant scholarship to a really good school out west and left for school while Liz stayed close to home. Over the years, they followed each other on socials but had little other contact. I met Liz a little over 3 years ago as part of a social league for volleyball in our city. By luck of the draw, we were placed on the same team, met each other at the welcome event and really hit it off. She is kind, gracious, smart, witty, beautiful, fun, and has just the right amount of competitiveness. She's the kind of girl that guys meet and fall in love with, and I guess I'm one of those guys, but somehow she also liked me. A year after meeting, we were moving in together and talking about the future. By no means is our relationship a fairy tale romance, but we have weathered our fair share of storms and have what I believe to be a healthy relationship with a good sex life, strong communication, and shared goals and values. We've talked about marriage, kids, all of it. Here's where Jay comes back into the story. A few years back, Jay started a tech company with a friend. Their company grew rapidly and was bought out by a major player in the tech world. Then Jay moved back to our city this year. 3 months ago, we went to a party at a friend of Liz's from high school. Jay was also there. It was the first time that Liz had seen him in probably 4 to 5 years, so the two spent a lot of the party catching up. I'm not originally from the area, so many of Liz's friends have become my friends, so I was hanging out and letting them catch up. On the way home from the party, Liz said that Jay had invited us over to his new house and that we needed to find a date. A few weeks later, we head over to Jay's house. From the moment he opened the door to greet us, Jay was weird to me. I think he didn't realize that I was coming too. Maybe he thought Liz was coming by herself? Almost the whole day, Jay spoke only to Liz. When Liz would try to include me in the conversation or talk about me, Jay seemed to change the subject to reminisce about old stories. It was very strange and was just kind of exhausting. Eventually, I went inside to the kitchen to get a drink and chatted with Jay's chef. He has a private chef to make his food. The chef was cool and confirmed that he had been told it was Jay plus one guest for dinner. Liza and I tried to chalk that whole date up to a misunderstanding that maybe he just wanted to continue catching up, but there have been plenty of awkward things since then. For example, when at Jay's, Liz saw a Le Creuset Dutch oven and said something about always wanting one but not being able to justify the cost. Well, a few days later, the same exact Le Creuset was at our doorstep. She one time mentioned that she really likes a very expensive classic lounge chair, but it's almost $4,000. It showed up at our place the next week. She said something the next day when we saw Jay, but he gave this weird smile and said multiple times that he didn't know what she was talking about. Jay is building a new company that creates tech for the hospitality industry. For those reasons, he has connections with restaurants and breweries all over the city. In the fall, he invited Liz to a special dinner at a chef's table that is inside the kitchen of one of the nicest restaurants in the city. Jay knows the chef, so they would get the royal treatment. When Liz asked if I could come as well, he told her that the table only seats 2. Liz and I talked it out for a while and in the end decided that she would go without me, and she reported back that it felt like 2 friends having dinner together. I was talking about the whole thing with a co-worker who told me she also had done the chef's table and the table seats 4. At the beginning of the month, Jay invited her to a special event at a local museum. One of the major museums in our city hosts a special Christmas party that you have to be invited to and is really exclusive. Think knockoff version of the Met Gala without the celebrities and holiday themed. Jay got 2 tickets and invited Liz. She's wanted to go for ages and never thought it was possible, so we talked it out and decided she would take him up on the offer. Again, she says he acted like a friend, but in hindsight it feels weird that he keeps inviting her to stuff like this. As I'm writing this out, I already feel like people are getting ready to tell me that she's cheating on me or that I'm a pushover for letting Liz go to one-on-one outings with Jay. But 1, we don't have the kind of relationship where I wouldn't let her do something she wanted, and 2, she is super honest with me. She's also a terrible liar. She has the easiest tells in the world. She's too moral and good-natured to keep a bad secret. That's why I believe her when she's assured me time and time again that Jay is very much in the friend zone. She is not interested. She believes that he is lonely and wants to return to being best friends. My worry is that Liz naturally sees the best in people. For example, if someone cuts her off in traffic, her natural response is that they must be in some kind of emergency situation. She genuinely trusts people, cares for people, and wants the best for them. I, on the other hand, am a natural skeptic. I tend to think that people are just out for themselves. I find her optimism really beautiful but struggle to see the world in the same way. The long and short of it is that we both feel uncomfortable with the gifts and fancy dinners that he keeps getting her. But when she brought it up to him, he says he is paying her back for taking him in during high school. He asked her to keep letting him do things for her because he feels like he needs to return the many favors her family did for him. Then, this week, our friends got together for an annual Christmas party. It's been a tradition at that party to do a white elephant gift exchange. It's always weird stuff or funny items. Jay showed up with a second gift that he was cagey about all night. Someone thought it was part of the gift exchange and he kind of freaked out a bit. Near the end of the night, he pulled Liz aside and gave her the second gift. Inside was a designer handbag and super expensive pair of designer heels. She felt very uncomfortable accepting them, and in the awkwardness of the situation, just said thanks and then we left soon after. Now, 2 days later, Liz has decided she wants to return the gifts to Jay and tell him they are too much. I think she said that they were almost $2,000 combined. I think we need to tell Jay to back off as well, but Liz is saying that I'm being overly harsh. What I'm asking is, am I being too harsh in telling a guy to back off who is trying to repay former kindness? If I'm not out of line for telling him to back off, how can we ask him to stop with the gifts without destroying the friendship? Well, OP, in my opinion, I don't think it's too harsh for you to tell him to F off. Your girlfriend says he's in the friend zone and he's clearly doing the best he can to get out of it. So he's repaying her former kindness for taking him in during high school? No, that's not what happened. She didn't take him in. She was her classmate. She was her friend. That was it. It was her parents who did all that for him. So yeah, I absolutely do not buy his excuse. And also that whole display where he gave you guys a $4,000 lounge chair and then played it off like he didn't know what she was talking about. That part really pissed me off. However, OP, having said all that, I think the one that needs to set the boundary strong is your girlfriend, not you. Because then he can just play on that you are being controlling or something like that and try to undermine your relationship. I mean, we're talking about a guy who's actively trying to push you out of the picture, under the guise of, I don't know, reestablishing the relationship or some lie that he doesn't even believe himself. And what do you guys think about this whole situation? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. Chingona Row 0730 says, Liz might not feel romantic feelings, but honestly, it sounds like this dude is trying to use his money and whatever connections he has to woo her. I think Liz needs to be really honest with herself about her expectations in regard to this friendship. When exactly did she start feeling uncomfortable? Because it seems from day one he has been treating her like you would a girlfriend or wife and she kept accepting his offers. For the sake of mixed signals, she needs firm boundaries. There is a difference between being kind and being a doormat, and saying yes to someone because you might feel sorry for them is never a good thing either. Why does she want this friendship? What does she get out of it? How does it enrich her life, and by extension yours? Although it is clear he is not interested in getting to know you and becoming friends. If she sets a boundary for no more gifts or fancy stuff without you and he decides to end the friendship, what is the worst thing that will happen? You will have a clear answer with how his reaction will be. He is using old teenager stuff to manipulate. That's my take on this, because if he really cared about what she wanted, he would have already stopped with the gifts and the dates, because she might not see it as a date, but he sure as hell is. And Opie responds, I think feeling uncomfortable is something that has grown over time. As for wanting the friendship, I think that she remembers how close they used to be, how she was able to lean on him and wants that back. Our friend group has been going through some changes as people have moved away, had kids, etc. I wonder if part of this is wanting to make sure she has a good friend in the midst of other friendships deteriorating. Cleo Ruby Pup says, Info. If Jay is trying to repay the kindness of Liz's family for taking him in and caring for him when his parents divorced, has he been also buying expensive gifts for Liz's parents? They are the ones who looked after him, so surely if this is about repaying kindness, they should have also been showered with gifts. If he hasn't treated Liz's parents to equally extravagant gifts, then surely that should open Liz's eyes about how inappropriate and disrespectful to your relationship Jay is being. And Opie responds, this is the weird thing to me that makes me feel like Jay has ulterior motives. When he first mentioned wanting to pay her back, Liz told him that it was her parents who created space for him and fed him. But he says he wants to pay back her friendship and kindness. It seems weird to me. For Tonight Watchling says, the best thing for her to say might be along the lines of, Jay, you know you do not have to pay me back for anything my family did for you when you were growing up. We did that out of love. I very much want us to be friends, but I want to ask you to please stop giving me such extravagant gifts. They aren't necessary, and I don't want you to feel used in the end. You're my friend and I care about you. All I need is friendship. I don't know, seems gentle enough. Tiny bit of information from OP's comments. There is no history of romance between them. From what I understand, when they started spending a lot of time in high school, he quickly entered the friend zone or feels like a brother arena. Alright, well, in different tones, the community agrees that Jay is sketchy at least. And we got some pretty good information for context, like for example that Liz did tell him it was her parents and that there is no history of romance between them. So now it's time to move on with the update to see how this story ends, but before that of course, here's another one of my playlists for you to enjoy after this video. Now let's get on with that update. After posting, Liz told me that she had decided to give back Jay's expensive Christmas gifts. She waited until he posted on Instagram about being out at an event at a local bar for a night, then drove over to his house with a friend, and they left the gifts by the front door with a note that said, paraphrased, Jay, thank you so much for thinking of me this Christmas. While all the gifts you've been giving me are generous, I feel bad taking them. It was my parents who took you in back when you were in school. I was just excited to live with my friend. They are the ones who took care of you. If you feel the need to give back, my parents have always supported local charity. I'm sure they would be happy to know you gave the amount of these gifts in their honor. She hoped this would end things and he'd get the picture. I was doubtful. Around 2 AM that night, presumably when he got home and saw the returned gifts, he started bombarding her with text messages. They were all some combination of 1. He was such a good friend and she was lucky to have him. 2. He was going to give her the gifts back because it was false modesty that she was showing in not accepting them. And 3. She should always expect gifts from him and that he would always protect her and be her hero. Yikes. It was really weird and creepy. We were already asleep and the messages came in so quickly and repeatedly that they woke us up. We agreed to try to go back to sleep and deal with it in the morning. Luckily, we were leaving early in the morning to see my family for the holidays. On the way there, we worked together to craft a small message for Jay. Liz told him in the text that it seems like he wants a deeper relationship than she does, that she was happy in her relationship with me, and that she was blocking him to give him the time to sort out his feelings for her. 30 minutes after that, we got a notification from our doorbell. I'll give you a guess who it was. He came back a few hours later to bring the gifts back, then came back again the next morning and then again that evening. Friends started saying that Jay had reached out to ask where Liz was, saying that he was afraid for her safety. Luckily, we didn't tell that many people about our trip, and those who knew also knew about Liz blocking Jay and all stonewalled him. Still, saying it was a stressful situation is a major understatement. Honestly, the stress of it ruined our New Year's. While in my hometown, we visited my cousin, whose husband is a lawyer. We asked about protective orders. He told us that unfortunately for our state, there have to be threats of harm or proof that he was stalking Liz. He told us that Jay's actions to that point were not extreme enough, but he encouraged us to save our video doorbell feed and to keep a record of every interaction in case things escalated. My parents let us stay in my hometown an extra few days before going home, but eventually we had to head back for a work event that Liz had to go to. We were pretty nervous the first few days at home, and I installed 2 extra cameras outside our home with a wider view range than the doorbell could offer. Luckily, we didn't hear anything from Jay. After not hearing anything from or about him for about 2 weeks, we couldn't tell if we had gotten lucky or if something else was going on. While our closest friends knew what was going on and had all blocked Jay when Liz had, we had some friends of friends that Liz knew were still close to him. We had a close friend reach out to one of Jay's friends. This guy said that no one had heard or seen from Jay in about 3 weeks. He had missed 2 parties he said he would be at and hadn't posted on socials for a while. Jay was the kind of guy who would post on Instagram 3 to 4 times a week. I should have left the whole thing go there, but my curiosity got the better of me. I reached out to a friend in the middle of February who works in the restaurant industry. I knew they had been in conversations with Jay's new company about becoming a client. This friend told me that they hadn't heard from Jay in over a month, but that there was a rumor going around that Jay's business partner, and I guess the whole new business, was tied to some sketchy stuff and a lot of the restaurants he knew of had gotten cold feet. No one had heard from Jay in a while, and this friend had not seen him at a recent industry event. This caused one of our friends and me to go into detective mode. Back when Jay had first moved back to the area, a bunch of us were invited over to a party at his house, which was a huge mansion in a super wealthy area. Liz and I were having a hard time remembering, but feel like he was telling people he had just bought it. Last week, the friend who I've been doing detective-y stuff with found that house on a website full of luxury homes for long-term rental. We checked on Zillow and the house was last sold almost a decade ago, so we don't think that he bought it and rented it out. We looked up a news report for when his company sold and we don't see his name anywhere in the article. That being said, the only person it named was the CFO, so maybe he was an owner? We can't figure it out. So that's it. We don't have any answers for what happened to Jay. We can't figure out if he was just a sketchy guy whose new company had closed or if he was some kind of scam artist. Part of me thinks that he got a payday and is probably living in Costa Rica or something, but I wouldn't be surprised if he had been telling stories the entire time. Maybe he only owned a few shares in the company, so he had a bit of cash, but conflated his role and his bank account. I don't think we will ever have answers. On the plus side, it seems like he's out of our lives, and while we are continuing to keep an eye out, we are hoping we don't ever have to see him again. Well, OP, personally, I don't care where the hell Jay is. If I was in your shoes, I'd just take it as, well, he disappeared, good enough for me. Hopefully he'll stay away and you and Liz can keep building your relationship without him in it. So here's wishing you and Liz the best in the future, OP. Thank you for sharing and take care. Now, let's finish this video with a quick mood booster post. This post is from the subreddit Malicious Compliance and it's by user GoldCarpenter7612, giving my daughter exactly what she wanted. A little disclaimer, my daughter is a wonderful kid. She's smart. She's also a smartass. A couple of years ago, COVID just started and daughter was roughly 8 years old, 2nd or 3rd grade elementary school. She was really into salami pizza. I wouldn't allow it more than once a week, obviously. So she got the idea of, in France, children get to eat everything they want 7 times a week. That is why they like it. Now, she got it all wrong. The saying goes, they have to try a certain food 7 times before they can decide whether they like it. But I understood her wish, salami pizza, every day. She had this malicious little crap-eating grin of gotcha. I answered with the same grin. Okay, you'll get salami pizza the next week. Only salami pizza, nothing else. She was hyped. Yay, all the pizza! Her favorite frozen types, all of them. Monday morning rolls around, she gets salami pizza for breakfast. Fantastic, best parent. Monday noon, leftover from the morning. Monday evening, time for the second pizza. I make some for the rest of the family too. Everyone enjoys salami pizza. Fun! Tuesday morning, guess what's for breakfast? Exactly. Daughter asks for something else. I remind her of my promise, salami pizza all day, every day for a week. Reluctant, yay. Tuesday noon, she skips the pizza. Tuesday evening, we're having something else while she chews on her pizza. It isn't as cool anymore, I guess. I eat her leftover pizza. Winner. Wednesday morning, she sneaks a slice of bread, but I stop her and heat her salami pizza. She breaks down and asks me to stop. Lesson learned. Don't try to outsmart your parents. You might get exactly what you were asking for. Since then, she still loves salami pizza, but once a month is fine. Really. Winky face. Well, OP, she wanted pizza. She got exactly what she asked for, like you said. And it reminds me of actually something that happened to me. When I was about 11 years old, I was able to convince my mom that I would be able to eat a whole can of condensed milk with no complaining because I've been bugging her for like a month that all I wanted to do was eat a whole can of condensed milk. Eventually, I wore her down, right? And she allowed it, with one condition. I had to eat all of it. That had to be my compromise or she wouldn't allow it. So I said, yeah, I'll drink all of it. But after like the third gulp, I started gagging, and that's when my mom, in between laughs, said she'd let me off the hook. But I did learn my lesson as well. I can't drink a whole can of condensed milk, I can just do 2 gulps. Anyway, Upi, your story just brought that memory back to me. Thank you so much for sharing and take care. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out. So here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later. And also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.